What if time isn't a straight line, but a loop? Think about it. From birth to death, we're taught to perceive time as a linear progression, an arrow relentlessly moving forward. But what if that's a carefully constructed illusion, hiding a deeper, more cyclical truth? Understanding that time loops are real, and that ancient knowledge about them is accessible to you, not locked away in some esoteric text, offers you the ultimate power, the ability to consciously shape your destiny. Knowing the cycles, both personal and universal, allows you to anticipate challenges, seize opportunities, and ultimately break free from the patterns that hold you back. This is about becoming a conscious architect of your life, not a passive pawn in a game you don't understand. For centuries, ancient myths, philosophies, and spiritual traditions have whispered of this cyclical nature. These stories are not just quaint allegories, they are coded maps, showing you how your everyday experiences, your relationships, and even historical events are echoes of these timeless patterns. Imagine, for a moment, that you are reliving similar events over and over until you learn a vital, soul-level lesson. The self-sabotaging behavior that consistently leads to the same negative outcomes. Those aren't coincidences. They are the universe nudging you, begging you to choose a different route. But what if these loops aren't just random occurrences? What if free will is an illusion, and these loops are being subtly, or not so subtly, manipulated? The elite may understand that information is the key to keep you in a constant pattern. Is it possible that recurring societal events, from economic crises to global conflicts, aren't just random chaos, but carefully orchestrated cycles designed to keep you trapped? In future videos, we'll be delving into how to recognize and break free from these traps, reclaiming your power and rewriting your destiny. But these aren't new ideas. The notion of time as cyclical isn't a modern invention. It's an echo that reverberates through the corridors of ancient thought. Have you ever wondered why so many cultures across the globe, separated by vast distances and time, independently arrived at similar conclusions about the nature of reality? What if they were all tapping into the same fundamental truth, a truth that's been obscured by our modern obsession with linear progress? In Hindu cosmology, time unfolds in vast, repeating cycles called yugas. Each yuga marks a stage in the spiritual evolution of humanity, from the golden age of Satya Yuga to the degenerate Kali Yuga, which we are supposedly in now. Creation, destruction, and rebirth aren't one-time events, but recurring themes in this cosmic drama, constantly playing out on an infinite scale. And then there's samsara, the Buddhist concept of the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, driven by karma and the relentless pursuit of desires. Imagine each lifetime as a scene in a play, with you as the actor, endlessly replaying similar roles until you finally awaken to the illusion and break free from the cycle of suffering. Are you beginning to see how these ancient concepts mirror the idea of personal time loops? Just as the individual seeks liberation from samsara, we can strive to escape the loops that bind us in our daily lives. The West isn't immune to this cyclical thinking. The Stoics, with their emphasis on acceptance and virtue, embrace the concept of eternal return, the idea that all events in the universe recur in the same sequence throughout eternity. Can you imagine the implications of that? Every joy, every sorrow, every decision you make, you'll make again, and again, and again. Nietzsche took this idea even further with his philosophy of amor fati, the love of fate. Instead of resisting the inevitable, he urged us to embrace every moment, every challenge, as an integral part of our destiny, finding meaning and purpose in the face of eternal recurrence. But let's not get carried away. While these ideas are fascinating, it's important to remember that interpretations vary. Some Buddhist traditions, for example, emphasize a path of linear progression towards enlightenment. The point isn't to definitively declare one view as correct, but to recognize the recurring theme of cyclical time across diverse philosophical systems. But where does science fit into all of this? Is there any evidence to suggest that time might not be as linear as we perceive it to be? Prepare yourself, because we're about to dive into the wild world of quantum physics. Quantum mechanics has thrown a wrench into our neat and tidy understanding of the universe. At the subatomic level, things get weird, really weird. The seemingly solid reality we experience dissolves into a probabilistic soup of possibilities, where particles can exist in multiple states at once and become entangled with each other across vast distances. Could quantum entanglement be a model, an analogy for nonlinear connections across time, where events in the past, present, and future are subtly intertwined? Imagine two entangled particles, forever linked, regardless of the space separating them. Now, imagine two moments in your life, seemingly disconnected, but subtly influencing each other through a similar, unseen connection. Then there's the observer effect, the mind-bending idea that the very act of observing a quantum system changes its behavior. What does that imply about the nature of reality and the role of consciousness? Could our beliefs and expectations be shaping our experience of time itself, creating feedback loops that reinforce our existing patterns? If you expect to fail, do you unconsciously create the conditions for failure, thus perpetuating a negative time loop? It's as if the universe is a mirror, reflecting back at us what we believe to be true. But before you start dreaming of building a time machine, let's be clear. This isn't about science fiction. We're not talking about traveling back in time to alter the past. Instead, we're exploring the possibility that our perception of time as a fixed, linear progression might be fundamentally flawed. It's also important to be upfront about the limits of the quantum explanation. The connection between quantum mechanics and consciousness remains highly speculative, a topic of intense debate among scientists and philosophers. Some researchers believe that quantum processes play a crucial role in consciousness, while others remain skeptical. However, the very fact that these questions are being asked challenges our conventional understanding of reality and opens up new avenues for exploration. So, with that in mind, let's bring this back to your personal life. Have you ever noticed that you tend to attract the same type of people into your life, even when you consciously try to avoid them? Do you find yourself repeating similar patterns in your relationships, careers, or financial situations? These aren't just random coincidences. They're often manifestations of personal time loops, recurring patterns that play out until you become aware of them and actively choose to change. Think of someone who repeatedly attracts partners with similar negative characteristics. Perhaps they're always dating people who are emotionally unavailable or controlling. It's not just bad luck. It's a pattern, a loop that's being driven by something deeper. Often, these loops are rooted in unresolved trauma. Repetition compulsion, a concept introduced by Sigmund Freud, suggests that we unconsciously recreate past traumas in an attempt to master them. However, without conscious awareness and healing, these attempts often lead to further suffering and perpetuate the cycle of pain. For example, a person who experienced emotional neglect in childhood might recreate that dynamic in their adult relationships, unconsciously seeking out partners who are distant or dismissive. These behaviors reinforce the original trauma, making it even harder to break free from the loop. Limiting beliefs can also act as triggers for these loops. A deeply held negative belief, such as, "I'm not good enough," or "I don't deserve happiness," can sabotage your efforts to create a better life, leading to missed opportunities and self-fulfilling prophecies. Imagine someone who believes they're not capable of success. They might unconsciously avoid challenges, procrastinate on important tasks, or self-sabotage their efforts, thus confirming their negative belief and perpetuating the cycle of failure. So, how do you identify your own personal time loops? Here's a practical exercise you can try. Grab a journal and carve out some quiet time for reflection. Ask yourself, what are the recurring patterns in my life? What situations, relationships, or emotions tend to repeat themselves? Write down everything that comes to mind without judgment or censorship. Then delve deeper. What are the underlying emotions and beliefs associated with these patterns? What triggers them? What purpose might they be serving, even if unconsciously? By shining a light on these hidden patterns, you can begin to understand their origins and take steps to disrupt them. But what about the larger picture? Are these cyclical patterns limited to our personal lives, or do they extend to the wider world? Prepare to zoom out, because we're about to explore the societal cycles that shape our collective experience. History, as the saying goes, doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Look closely, and you'll see repeating patterns in the rise and fall of empires, the ebb and flow of economic cycles, and the recurring waves of political polarization. Are these just random fluctuations, or are they manifestations of deeper, underlying cycles? Think about the rise and fall of empires. From the Roman Empire to the British Empire, there's a recurring pattern of expansion, prosperity, decline, and collapse. Are there similar dynamics at play in the modern geopolitical landscape? Consider the boom and bust cycles that have characterized economic history for centuries. Are these inevitable consequences of market forces, or are they being manipulated by those in power? It is not just economic crises either. Just consider the information warfare being fought now. Those in positions of power often understand how to manipulate these cycles to maintain their control. By shaping narratives, controlling resources, and exploiting divisions, they can keep society locked into repeating patterns of consumption, conflict, and dependence. The elite may understand how to manipulate information, the very fabric of our shared reality, to keep society locked into repeating patterns of consumption and division. Think about the constant bombardment of negative news, the fear-mongering headlines, and the divisive rhetoric that dominates our media landscape. Doesn't it often contribute to a sense of powerlessness and despair, making people less likely to question the status quo? Media and propaganda can be powerful tools for reinforcing limiting beliefs and keeping people trapped in societal loops. Recognizing these societal time loops raises important ethical questions. What is our responsibility when we become aware of these patterns of manipulation? Do we have a moral obligation to resist them, even if it means challenging those in power? Critical thinking and media literacy are essential tools for navigating this complex landscape. By questioning the narratives we're being fed, seeking out diverse perspectives, and developing our own independent judgment, we can break free from the societal loops that seek to control us. So, how do we break free? What practical steps can we take to disrupt these personal and societal time loops and create a more positive future? The first step is to cultivate awareness. Mindfulness, the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment, can help us interrupt negative thought patterns and emotional reactions that perpetuate our personal loops. When you notice yourself getting caught up in a familiar pattern of thought or behavior, take a deep breath, observe your experience without judgment, and consciously choose a different response. Self-compassion is equally important. Instead of beating yourself up for falling into old patterns, treat yourself with kindness and understanding. Remember that change takes time and effort, and setbacks are a normal part of the process. Cognitive reframing, a technique used in cognitive behavioral therapy, can help you challenge your limiting beliefs and replace them with more positive and empowering ones. If you find yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," ask yourself, is that really true? What evidence do I have to support that belief? What evidence contradicts it? Can I reframe that thought in a more balanced and realistic way? Ultimately, breaking free from time loops requires taking responsibility for your own experiences and choices. You can't change the past, but you can choose how you respond to it. By identifying your triggers, challenging your limiting beliefs, and practicing mindfulness and self-compassion, you can begin to create a new path for yourself, one that's not determined by the past. Remember, you have the power to choose a different path, even within a seemingly predetermined loop. It's not always easy, but it's always possible. And ultimately, consider the bigger picture. What if these time loops aren't punishments or limitations, but opportunities for growth and evolution? Each recurrence offers a chance to master a lesson, to heal a wound, to make a different choice. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, keeps giving us opportunities to learn and grow until we finally get it right. It's like a video game where you keep replaying the same level until you master it and unlock the next one. And remember, we can't control everything. The illusion of control can be just as binding as any external manipulation. Accepting what we cannot change, while focusing on the power we do have over our own thoughts, feelings, and actions, can be incredibly liberating. Finally, remember that we are all interconnected, and our choices affect the whole. By breaking free from our own time loops, we contribute to a more positive and harmonious world. It's like ripples in a pond. Each act of conscious change creates a wave of positive energy that spreads outward, influencing the lives of others. So time loops aren't fate, but mirrors, waiting for us to change our reflection. This is where true free will begins, in the moment we decide to step outside the loop and create a new reality for ourselves. What will you reflect back? So, as we bring our exploration to a close, let's distill what we've uncovered. We've journeyed through ancient philosophies that speak of recurring epochs, intertwined with modern quantum physics that challenges our understanding of linear time. These seemingly disparate fields converge on a central idea. That time, as we perceive it, may not be a straight line, but a repeating cycle. The real revelation here is that these cyclical patterns aren't prisons, but accelerated learning environments meticulously crafted for our conscious evolution. Think of them as intense workshops designed to help you master specific life skills. What if each challenge, each heartbreak, each perceived failure is simply an opportunity to learn a vital lesson, to grow in wisdom and compassion? Identifying these patterns is therefore key, unlocking the hidden potential embedded within these recurring experiences and allowing individuals to rewrite personal narratives and shape their destinies even within repeating scenarios. But the significance extends far beyond individual growth. Our personal time loops are intricately connected to the tapestry of existence. Consider that when one person heals, that healing reverberates outwards, touching the lives of others. When one person breaks free from a cycle of negativity, it creates space for positivity to flourish in the world. Recognizing personal and societal cycles provides profound empathy, fostering a deeper understanding of the challenges others face. Comprehending these challenges fosters compassion and inspires action. It's not just about fixing our own problems, it's about contributing to the collective evolution of humanity. With this understanding comes great responsibility, as one's actions impact not only oneself, but also those around them. Individual choices have a ripple effect, contributing to a more positive and harmonious world. We must also acknowledge a certain paradox, however, the balance between control and acceptance within cyclical existence. While we can't always control the external circumstances of our lives, the true power lies in mastering our internal responses to these experiences. True freedom isn't about escaping the loops altogether, but about mastering the lessons they contain. Awareness, acceptance, and conscious choice are the keys that unlock evolution within any given circumstance. Through actively rewriting our narratives and shifting from repeating the past to designing a better future, personal and societal evolution can be obtained. The free will questions that we posed early on are also addressed. Free will isn't a given, but an emergent property, a capacity that blossoms as people break free from cyclical behavior and embrace consciousness. The more we become aware of our patterns, the more we consciously choose our responses, the greater our capacity for free will becomes. Embracing the cyclical nature of time has the potential to remove feelings of hopelessness. When we recognize that patterns exist, we also see the potential for change within those cycles. It's about stepping into a space of empowerment, realizing that individuals have the ability to shape their experiences and create more desirable outcomes. Recognizing these patterns can therefore provide a feeling of greater conscious control. This exploration opens up even more questions. If time loops are, in fact, learning environments, what lessons are we collectively designed to learn as a society? Perhaps future discussions should dive deeper into broad societal patterns and how our institutions might influence individual behavior and cycles. Let us not limit exploration to just that, as the journey continues into the vast landscapes of consciousness, the mysteries of reality, and the very nature of time itself. Quantum physics, philosophy, and spirituality all offer rich avenues for continued discovery. And now, I encourage you to join this ongoing conversation. Share your own personal experiences with cyclical patterns in the comments below. Analyze what you have witnessed or felt, personally and socially, as it will help foster a community dedicated to understanding these complex implications. I also want to tease a bit of what's to come. In future videos, we'll delve into more advanced techniques for consciously navigating and manipulating personal timelines. We can also discuss the ethics of intervening in societal cycles, and even potentially cover advanced techniques for personal development and actionable strategies for ethical action. This journey has only just begun, and the deeper we look, the more we begin to